Okay, hi everybody. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. Welcome again to the 4 proven marketing systems every small business owner must optimize to maximize revenue growth. And hopefully that's the presentation you're looking for because you're in the right spot. Now I'm Rebecca with QNectu. That's QNectu. And my goal today is to help you connect with more customers so you can maximize your business growth over the next 12 months. Now, we will get through this in probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and I will take some time to answer questions at the end. So if you have questions, please go ahead and type them in the box that you see below this presentation. I also just want to let you know that I will be recording this. So if for some reason you're not able to stick around through the whole thing, I will get you recording here in the next 24 to 48 hours. So you can keep a lookout for that. And finally, if you hover over this presentation, I believe down in the lower right-hand corner, if you hover over it with your mouse, you're going to see a little box that you can click on. And that's going to expand into the presentation full screen mode. If that helps make it a little easier for you to view, go ahead and do that. Anytime that you want to get back into the normal mode to access that question box, just hit the escape key on your computer. You should be right back here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rolling with the 4 proven marketing systems every small business owner must optimize to maximize revenue growth. And thank you very much for your time and attention joining me here today. So like I said, in the next hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to teach you how you can dominate your market and take your small business income to entirely new levels. Now, I know that's a lofty promise here for an hour, but that's what my team and I do for businesses. We help small businesses leverage marketing systems and technology to achieve maximum results. You know, there's all kinds of amazing technology that's been developed and being utilized in all kinds of other businesses. And certainly we've seen technology impact on local businesses. But the majority of us are not taking advantage of that technology and the marketing systems that are out there to the degree that we could to really achieve the maximum results. So I'm going to try and give you some specific ideas and some specific strategies on how you can be doing things differently to help take your business to the next level. What I found in my dealings with a large number of clients is that about 95% of local small businesses are missing at least 2 out of the 4 critical proven marketing systems that are necessary to achieve maximum business growth. Occasionally, I'll meet businesses that are utilizing 3. I almost never meet a business that utilizes all 4, and yet most of them are probably only really maximizing 1. So by doing that, you're leaving lots and lots of growth on the table. Now, why is it critical that you pay attention to these 4 key marketing systems and leverage them as much as you can? Well, the competitive landscape for local businesses has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. And so has the way many of your clients find and shop for your services, right? We've got things like Angie's List, Yelp, and Google, and all this stuff out there, and people are searching for your services on their computers, on their mobile phones, on their iPads. You know, they're just getting information about your business in different ways today than they were even just a few years ago. So the local business industry is changing, but unfortunately, a lot of the small businesses as a group have been slow to adapt to these changes, and we're stuck a little bit back behind other businesses in this evolutionary chart. And it's causing us to miss out on opportunities. So I want to point out where those opportunities are and help you get there. Now, there are 3 major drivers of change that have really impacted today's business environment. Number 1, search, 2, social, and 3, mobile. Okay, these are all things that you're familiar with to some degree, at least personally. But the real issue is, how has this impacted your business? Well, when it comes to search engines have made it easier than ever to find information, right? Everything from what movies are playing tonight, to who won last night's baseball game, to information about your business and your competitor's business. Search engines are now accessible not just from our computers, but from our mobile devices that we're carrying around in our pockets. So we can pretty much search at any time. And, search in one form or another has become the predominant way for clients to find your services that used to just be word of mouth. But now search has replaced word of mouth in that we can get online and find more objective information from a big variety of people about how they feel about your services. And right now, about 74% of local consumers use search engines when they are looking to hire or buy from a local small business. So search is huge. Now the next one is social. Social also has had a massive impact on today's business environment. It was a dozen years ago or so when we had never really even heard of Facebook, and now we have over 1 billion people worldwide on Facebook. It's shocking, and some people are literally addicted to it and just using it constantly throughout the day. And I'm sure you know those people. The amazing thing about social networks is that we've taken what used to be kind of offline word of mouth, just people talking to each other like normal human beings, and we've put that online and we've made it very, very visible to the world. It's now easy to share your opinion with tens, hundreds, thousands, or even more people, people that you don't even really know. And this has changed something very important that you need to understand down here at the local level, right? Content about your business is not being created by most of you. It's being created by the consumers of your products and services. They're the ones out publishing content about your business and getting that information published on the web and sharing it, like I said, with tens, hundreds, or even thousands of other people. So what's being said about your business is most likely not under your control right now. But it's important information. 49% of local consumers say positive online reviews make them more likely to hire a small business. So that information is out of your control, and it's critical in the final decision-making process for your consumers. The third one is mobile. Mobile may be the biggest game changer of all. And you're probably thinking, well, why is that? Well, it's taking all of this that we just talked about, search and social, and put it into our hands for immediate gratification any time of day or night, right? I've got an Android phone and I have that with me all the time, and I can search for just about any information I want at any time. I can pull up a business and leave a review on that business. I know lots of people that do this when they go out to restaurants. The first thing they do is pull out their phone at the end of their meal and review it. So it's this immediate gratification that makes mobile so powerful. So if you're not present out there in the social and search landscape, and you're not making your way into the pockets and into their mobile devices, then your competitors that are, they're going to eat you for lunch. So 79% of smartphone owners use mobile devices to influence decisions in hiring a local small business. And out of those, 74% decide to hire as a result. That's huge. And it's easier than ever for consumers to quickly research and compare various local businesses. You can see this is a Google results page from a search for top tanning salons in Utah. And I can easily pull this type of information from a huge variety of search engines and sites and see how other people are rating certain services, right? So you can see here we've got Expressions Tanning, received 4.4 out of 5 stars with 29 reviews, and that's great. You can see how many people have reviewed it, the ratings of reviews that are out there, and the average rating of all the reviews. But this is just one on Google alone. There are also local directory sites that I could check at any time to learn more about you and your competitors. So the business owners that get this are really, really doing well. They're taking advantage of these factors, and they're making sure that positive reviews and positive content are up on the internet about their business. And the ones that don't get this are getting left behind, and they're getting crushed. So the big question is, how do you strategically work with these 3 big drivers of change to make sure your business leads the pack? Well, the answer is, it means there's now more than ever that you need to have a marketing plan that works. And there's so much out there, right? You ask, well, how do I do this? How do I keep up with this and also run my business as well? And you're right, there is a ton out there and it's changing all the time. So my challenge here is to simplify this for you and clarify the approach so that you can just focus on a small handful of things that are going to make the biggest difference. And that's those 4 key marketing systems. I like to boil it down to just the 4 because it's super simple. And it's a limited number of things and it's high level enough that anybody can understand it and grasp it and apply it to their business. So I call it the R4 marketing framework for small businesses. And you will see here that the framework is just 4 steps and each of those are represented by an R, thus the R4 marketing framework. Number 1 is reputation, and then there is reach, resell, and referral. So let's go through those individually. Reputation, and obviously nothing's more important to your business than your reputation, right? I think we just all naturally understand this. But reputation is how people, past clients, and past customers feel about your services. And what they're saying to other people, that's what creates your reputation, and that can either feed or starve your business, depending on how your reputation is. So that's the very first step for a good reason, because that is foundational. We've got to make sure that your reputation is as solid as possible. And we've got to make sure that we are getting the good word out about your reputation in as many places as we can. Next is reach. Reach is how many people you get the message about your services to. Because it doesn't really matter if you have a perfect reputation. If nobody hears about it, well, you're not going to grow your business. So we've got to find ways of getting the word out about your services to the right people at the right time. Next is resell. Resell means, how do I get my existing customers to come back and do more and more business with me? Okay? It also means potentially upselling and cross-selling to have them buy additional services. But the point is, when we've gone through all this hard work of getting a customer, we also want to do everything we can to maximize the value of that customer. And then finally, here we've got referral. We want people saying good things about us to other potential prospects and customers so that we are getting those golden referrals, right? We love those. It's the best form of marketing when somebody's out there saying good words about us to hot prospects. And those prospects call us and say, hey, Rebecca, Bob just told me about your services and said you're great. That's the kind of business we're all looking for. So that's the R4 marketing framework, okay? It's simple to understand. You can see how each of those 4 R's applies to your business, and you can see that each of them should be maximized. Now, if you maximize any one of those, you get growth. I've seen just one of those factors result in 25% growth consistently at a business. But imagine if you maximize all 4, you can get business growth of 100% or more per year. And if you look around you, everybody can see that there's at least one business in your industry that you know of that seems to be just growing like wildfire. And you're wondering, man, how are they doing that? Why aren't they struggling like a lot of the other people out there, right? Well, it's because they're maximizing 3 or 4 out of these 4 R's, and they're on fire because of it. So let's jump into specific strategies for maximizing each of those 4 R's, starting again with reputation. As I said before, it's easier than ever for consumers to find the feedback of other consumers to help them make a decision about which business to hire or to make a purchase from. So you've got to make sure that the feedback that's out there on the web for your business is as positive as possible. 69% of local consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. And it makes sense, right? Because a personal recommendation is just from one person. But I can go online and I can see objective reviews for many people over a period of time. And that creates a kind of safety and consistency in seeing, how have you done across all of your customers over time, right? 7 out of 10 local consumers like to read up to 10 reviews before deciding to hire a small business. I'm sure you've experienced this in your own life in deciding, what restaurants to go to or what service providers to work with in your business or in your home. There's always reviews out there that you turn to nowadays to find out, hey, what do other people think? And we read through a handful of those reviews before we make a decision and get comfortable selecting a particular vendor or company or restaurant or whatever it is that you're looking for. Now, 80% of consumers will purposely avoid a local business with negative online reviews. And again, this makes total sense. One of our biggest fears is getting taken advantage of or having some work done that isn't done properly or buying something that's low quality and we lose out on money. So if we see those negative reviews, we're likely to run in the other direction. And it is almost impossible to get a bad comment removed from the web. So all this data adds up to tell you that reputation is incredibly important. It always has been, but the impact of reputation is magnified exponentially online. So the question is, who's talking about you, right? In the olden days, an unhappy customer would tell 10 people not to do business with you. But in today's day and age, an unhappy customer can spread the word to thousands or tens of thousands of their closest, what I like to call closest strangers on the internet. These people on Facebook that are connected to hundreds of people on Facebook that may not really be friends of theirs. They're just the people that they've run across that friended them on Facebook, and those same people are connected to hundreds of other people. And you have this massive viral network, and that's what social media is. So if somebody goes out and posts something negative about your business, it can get around to a lot of people fast. So the real problem is that people that are talking about you are oftentimes the people that are unhappy, right? It could be existing customers, prospects, competitors, disgruntled ex-employees, ex-spouses, former business partners or investors, or what I like to call trolls, which are permanently aggrieved people, right? The people who just love, for whatever reason, to say bad things about everybody online. So if you're fortunate enough to have reviews like these, 5 out of 5 over and over again, then congratulations, that's awesome. But most likely what you're going to find is stuff like this. Okay, so here's Applewood Plumbing, Heating and Electric. This is a very big business, but 12 out of 30 is their score on Google. And that's not very encouraging, right? As a consumer, I look at that and I think, oh, yeah, I'm running in the other direction. I don't want to do business with them. So your goal is to make sure that you have a 30 out of 30 or a 5-star reputation, depending on what is applicable for the rating system. Do everything that you can to protect your reputation online. Also, keep in mind that your score on Google is also reflected when a consumer is searching on Google Maps from their computer or mobile device. So this is a big deal. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you get a great reputation online? Well, step number 1 is you want to take ownership of the profiles for your business and all of the key directories and networks that are out there. What do I mean by key directories and networks? Well, I mean that there are all kinds of sites out there that have a listing for your business where people are able to come and find information about your business and share their feelings about your business, right? They get to review your business. So Google Plus Local, that's an incredibly important one, right? Google incorporates reviews into their search results now. Yelp, we've all heard of, Kudzu, Angie's List, UtahGateway.com. I'm sure you've heard of Facebook and Twitter. There's all kinds of businesses out there that have your profile about your business on their site. Now, the key is you may not know those profiles exist, and the information on those profiles is oftentimes wrong or inaccurate. Or sometimes they could even be downright lies on their About Your Business section, because it's posted by, maybe your competitors or an ex-employee or ex-spouse or things like that. I've seen just about everything in this business. So you've got to go and take ownership of those directories. You've got to go and make sure that, you've claimed those listings and made sure the information on them is accurate. Otherwise, there could be bad information about your business out there. Next is you've got to do your best to try and publish your own story. Okay, you don't want to leave the content out there about your business up to, the unhappy customers, right? You want to create your own content. There's lots of ways to do this. I'm not asking you to become a full-time author. I'm not asking you to become a movie producer or anything like that. But just make sure that you're doing things like announcing special promotions, putting up limited time offers, maybe sharing some testimonials from your happy customers and writing up quick little case studies about them. Maybe some unique stories that you have about some of your customers that you could share. You can also have somebody else create this content for you quickly and easily. You can do that, each month just to make sure you're posting something that's good. The other thing that a lot of you could do a very nice job of is posting helpful information on subjects that will help your clients and prospects, right? You all typically have some sort of skill or knowledge that most people don't have. So you can create all kinds of interesting content that can help people out. Maybe you do quick little videos, whatever it is, and then add social media sharing buttons to all that content to make sure it gets into as many hands as possible. Now you also need to stay connected with your customers. Here's that Applewood blog. It's the Applewood Applewood Plumbing, Heating, and Electric that I showed you earlier. One of the things they did is that they made sure to publish content on a blog. Now again, what they're doing is their best to try and control the story that's out there about them. They probably saw their Google review ratings and they know that they have some poor ratings out there. So they're saying, okay, how can we put other content out there so that customers will find that content instead and be persuaded to work with us? The downside is that their content is a little too irregular. If they posted content every 2 weeks or less, they would be doing even better. Okay, again, I mentioned making some educational videos and posting them to YouTube. Staying with the theme of plumbing, here's SharkBite Plumbing Solutions. So they're putting together some video here, how to fix copper pipe. And the thing that many of you may not know is that any given video stands about a 50 times better chance of appearing in the first page of search results than any given text page in the index. So video is very, very attractive to search engines, and if you can create some quick little YouTube videos and share those with people, you have a real advantage. Obviously Google owns YouTube, so they're going to want to rank YouTube videos. Videos are amazing. Also you can see here that they had over 39,000 subscribers. So every time that these guys post a new video, it is like distributing a commercial to over 39,000 people without having to pay for any distribution. And that's amazing. Now finally, we also need to build a review collection system. As I mentioned earlier, the majority of people that are going to go online and say things about your business, unfortunately, those are the people that are likely to get online and say bad things. It's the people who are upset that tend to take the time to leave reviews and leave comments. So what you need to do is you need to counteract that by having a process for collecting reviews from your happy customers. When you know you've got a good one, when you know that you knocked the ball out of the park for service, you want to make sure that you make it easy for them to leave you a review and a testimonial. And the key is to make it easy. Because people don't want to do anything unless it's easy, right? So we've got to have a system that makes it simple for them. You need to have a system that should be active and methodical and display those reviews and collect those referrals and then get them on your website as fast as possible. Get them on the social media networks as fast as possible because it makes a difference. Displaying reviews on your business website can boost emails and calls by over 20%. That's a real boost in business. Now, the big takeaway here is that reputation, it's always been the foundation of your business, but it's now the foundation of effective marketing for your local business. You've got to make sure that you're not just doing what you can from a service perspective to have a solid reputation, but you also have to proactively market that reputation in as many ways as possible. It's no longer good enough to do a good job. You have to now shout it from the rooftops too. So let's move on to reach. Once we have that solid reputation, we want to get that word out, the good word out, to as many people as possible, right? So we've got to have systems and marketing vehicles to get out to as many people as we can. Let's talk about social media first, okay? We've talked a little bit about social media already. Social media use has grown by 712% since 2005. I mean, it's been on fire. Obviously you all know Facebook and Twitter and these things, but maybe you don't use them personally or specifically for your business, but you hear about them a lot. Other people are using them, and that's what matters, okay? It's not right for you to say, well, I'm not using it, so I'm not going to promote my business on there. Well, you care what your customer has used. If they're on there, you want to market to them on there. So 86% of small business owners believe marketing on Facebook is important to their business. So we recognize that as a group, but the majority of us aren't doing anything about it. Facebook now has 155 million plus users just in the US alone, and over 1 billion throughout the world. So again, even if you're not spending time on there, we want to make sure to reach out to customers where they're at. You want to build a social media presence in general and boost your likes and followers by giving away free tips and advice. You can see here there's Ryan's Remodeling Kitchen and Bath, and they're doing a great job. It's a great Facebook page, and they're on there interacting with people. And they're actually getting deals through this, right? You can see here somebody posting, let's see, I have a room upstairs that needs to be turned into a ... I'm not sure what they're turning the room into, but it just shows that there's opportunities to really interact with people and build a community and find new business. So you want to reach them where they're at, and one of the key ways you can do that within the Facebook platform is what's called sponsored story ads. A sponsored story ad converts user activities into ads and displays the ad to friends of the user. So you may have seen this before with something like Starbucks, right? Here Jessica went to Starbucks for the second time in the day, and Starbucks is using the sponsored story ad vehicle so that when she comes in and checks in at a Starbucks, Facebook automatically turns that into an ad and shares that with all of Jessica's connections. So this is an automated way to get the word out about the fact that Jessica visited Starbucks and to get the same word out to all of the people that she knows. Well, you can use those same types of advertising techniques for your business. It's a very, very effective, cheap, and automated way to get the word out about your business to other people. Now, Facebook sponsored stories are very successful. They have a 53% higher click-through rate than direct advertising, so it's a really powerful vehicle. Now, the big takeaway here, as I said, your customers are socially active online. It doesn't matter if you're not, and a lot of small businesses are not. But look, your customers are, so you need to meet them there. And if you're not reaching them on social media, I promise you a more savvy competitor is, and they're taking money from your pocket. All right, let's talk about reach via mobile as well. Mobile searches have quadrupled in the last year, according to Google, and mobile internet usage is already overtaking desktop internet usage as of this year. So right around the corner, mobile internet will be more of a force out there than desktop internet use, which is just amazing. So it's important that we have a strategy for targeting people on a mobile basis. Next slide here. So the cool thing is, look at this. After looking up a local small business via mobile, 61% will result in a phone call, and 59% will result in some sort of visit or appointment. That's awesome. But that's if they actually see your site on their phone. 6 in 10 prospects will leave your site if it's not mobile friendly. And 57% of local consumers won't recommend a business with a poor mobile experience. So your goal is to make it as easy as possible for prospects to consume information about your business on their mobile phone and mobile device. So here's a computer repair business, just to show you an example that your standard website is probably not cutting it on mobile devices. I mean, you can see here, this is the Computer Renaissance business, a standard website, and you can see very, very hard to access that information. Versus on the right-hand side, this is a modified site for mobile that makes it super easy. Look at that. One click of a button, I can call them. I can have information about them sent to my phone. I can find them on a map. I can look at their product, services, schedule, store hours, that kind of thing. This structure makes it much, much easier for me to take my thumb or my fat finger on my phone and get that information that I need from their business. So check out your website on your mobile phone and see how it looks. For the far majority of you, it's going to look more like the first one, and that's a problem. But before you run out and pay for a separate mobile site, check to see if your website can be easily converted to a responsive site. I'm going to pause the PowerPoint presentation just to show you a quick example of a responsive site. So here is our website. It's qnectu.com. As you can see, if I have a widescreen window, then the site is adjusted to be at its maximum content width. But let me get my arrow here, and here you can see that I'm making the window more narrow. And watch what happens here as it continues to get narrow. You can see here the content automatically adjusts to the width of my viewing space. Let me keep on going so you can see what happens. Watch this now. See what happened there? This is what happens for a mobile device when the width of the window is too narrow to keep the content side by side. It's automatically going to adjust it. So whether the screen is on a tablet, a phone, a laptop, or a large desktop, the website will automatically adjust to the width of the screen. So this type of setup is even better because some people prefer to view the original site rather than just a mobile version. Plus, a mobile version may have less information. So, if someone is searching for information about how to do something and you have a post on your blog that can help them, then you want that potential customer to be able to access that information from their phone. And a mobile site may not be able to do that depending on what you have set up. It's also more expensive to have to set up a completely separate mobile site. So the great news is that if you use like a WordPress, most themes are either already responsive or you can install a plugin to make it responsive. So if your theme is not responsive, then you may just need to get a new theme to solve your problem. It could just be that simple. And now you have a responsive site that looks great no matter what they're using. Okay, let me get back here to the slideshow. Okay, so the big takeaway here is customers don't want to be disconnected from their phones. And this addiction kind of gives you an opportunity to get your business to them wherever they may be at this time. And this is a real opportunity to reach your customers. So you've got to take advantage of mobile. All right, let's talk about resell. Resell is how we get the most value from all of our customers, right? How do we get that customer coming back and buying more and more over time? Well, one of the great ways to do this is actually via mobile devices, as we mentioned before. So 87% of Americans have mobile phones, 73% say it's their most used technology device, and 25% of all U.S. households have ditched their landlines. They don't even have traditional phones anymore. So depending on the nature of your business, that could be all kinds of different businesses, from those of you who are building custom homes to those of you who are doing home cleaning services or a tanning salon like I showed you earlier. So for some of you this may apply, some of you it may not. But the majority of you can find a way to resell to customers using text messages or SMS messages. Look at these numbers here. We've got 6.1 trillion text messages were sent and received in 2010. And SMS is capable of reaching 91% of the US population. Because you don't have to have a smartphone You don't have to have the latest iPhone or Android or whatever. You can just have a good old cell phone and you can still get text messages. Now, why use SMS? Well, it's super easy for people to sign up to your list and get those text messages. They have very high open rates, so it's a very effective marketing platform. In fact, many marketers say it's the most effective marketing platform. So look at these statistics. 97% of all SMS marketing texts are opened. And 95 to 98% of text messages are read within minutes of receipt. 33% of email addresses change on a yearly basis. So I know of, many of you are probably keeping in touch with your customers via email, but look, their open rates on emails are now down under 10% on average versus 97% for SMS. I'm sure you can attest to this, right? Think about your own email inbox and all the spam you get there versus somebody sending you a text message straight to your cell phone. And how do you respond to that vibrating phone in your pocket when you have a text message or that beeping sound or whatever chime it is that you use? You check those things right away. That's the power of text messages. So how can you use this? Well, appointment reminders, right? Appointment reminders can reduce no-shows for appointments by 50% or more, which means it can save you a ton of money because, how many times have you set aside time for a customer and they just didn't show up? They forgot about the appointment. So using SMS messages to remind people of appointments can be huge. Also, during slow times, you could offer coupons for your services as well. Say you're a home improvement business or a handyman business, and you've got nothing booked up for tomorrow afternoon. You've got a big, giant open slot. Well, any open time is just lost money. So you can send out a coupon to all your past customers and say, hey, I've got an afternoon open tomorrow at 10% off for the person who claims it. And that's a very powerful way to get people to respond and book up that extra time. So the big takeaway here, text messaging is incredibly popular. It's the most popular form of communication among your consumers in terms of the volume, and it's almost guaranteed to get through to them. So build your SMS list today and look for creative ways to use it. All right, next one is referral. We want to get people that are happy with us, saying good things about us to as many other people as possible. That way we get those golden referrals, and that super lucrative referral business is what we really want, right? 65% of new business for small service businesses comes from referrals. So small service businesses are relying on this heavily. In fact, 41% of small local businesses count on referrals for over 80% of their sales. So this could be a huge part of your business. But the problem is referrals are unpredictable, and most of us are just leaving them up to chance. We want to figure out how we can proactively drive those referrals so we don't have to have those slow times in our business. And you need to understand, first and foremost, good customer service doesn't always equate to referrals. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if it's not easy for people to refer you, they just won't do it. It's kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing. In fact, 83% of satisfied customers are willing to refer business to you, but only 29% actually do. So why is that? Well, because by nature we're a little bit lazy, right? And if you don't have an easy system to remind me to refer you, then I forget to do it. It's not that I'm not happy with your services, it's just not on the top of my mind. So you must leverage a referral system to take this from being a typical word of mouth where you're just kind of hoping things go your way and where it's really just about chance. And you have to change it into a system that's predictable, consistent, and repeatable. So what do I mean exactly by a referral system? Well, I mean a methodical process that captures qualified prospects through association with people, right? Through association with your happy customers. So how do you generate referrals in a repeatable system? Well, it's simple. You ask for them. You've got to ask for them. You've got to strike when the moment is right. Strike when the iron is hot to make sure that you get the most referrals. And there's that old saying in sales, if you don't ask, you don't get. And the problem is most of us just aren't asking. Now, 91% of your clients would give you a referral, but have never been asked. And that's a pretty straightforward thing to do, right? Asking for referrals can be as simple as using referral cards that you drop off after service, postcards that you send to them in the mail, using social media, using your website. However it is that you can get in front of them and ask for a referral, you should be doing it. You can, again, also print them. Send them a referral card and postcard in the mail. And you can do this online too. Right here, here's an example from Facebook. So there's lots of ways that you can do it. Offer coupons for people that refer. Enter people who refer into contests with some attractive prizes. You've got to get creative, and most importantly, you've just got to make it a system. So the big takeaway here, referrals are great. It's the lifeblood of our business, but they're hard to depend on if you can't make them predictable. So you need to design a repeatable system that captures those referrals when your customers are thrilled and make it very easy for them to share their good feelings about your business. All right, so that's a quick breeze through of the R4 marketing framework. We went through all of them there. We've got reputation, reach, resell, and referral. And I hope you can see how this becomes a virtual cycle, right? Well, if we do all of these things well, then we get a lot more referrals. People are saying good things about us, which enhances our reputation, and all of this gets easier and easier. It's almost impossible for your business not to grow if you're putting good focus on each of those R's. So the question is, are you doing everything you can to grow your local business? And when I ask this of our local small business clients, of course, the far majority of them say no. Why is that? Well, it's awareness of even what these issues are and expertise around marketing systems and technology. I mean, this is a full-time job just to keep up with this stuff, right? And then, of course, it's just a matter of time. If you're taking care of your customers, if you're doing your actual job, you don't really have time to spend hours every day working marketing systems at the same time. And it's a handful, and it's also partly budget. There's a perception that this can be very expensive to do. Well, the problem with that is that there is a widening gap between the small businesses that get it and those that don't. And there are some businesses out there that are really doing a good job with this stuff, and they're starting to dominate their markets. And maybe you see those handful of competitors in your territory that are doing really, really well, and you're getting frustrated because you're feeling like maybe you're getting a little left behind. So the challenge, if you're not committing some time and energy and focus on these 4 marketing systems, that's really what can happen. Now, what I find is that about 90% of local businesses realize they aren't growing like they should. But the far majority, my team and I talk to, blame it on something like the economy, and it's somebody else's fault, right? Only about 40% realize that, hey, growth is primarily up to me. Yes, we all have the economy to deal with, and things are out of our control. But I promise you, my team can show you during any economy a local small business that is growing like wildfire because they're doing these things. So let's not give ourselves the convenient excuse of, oh, it's just the economy. And maybe only about 40% of businesses are willing to listen. And the rest of them just say, oh, you're crazy, it's the economy, it's not my fault. They're not willing to take ownership. And I'm sure there are some of you that may feel that way right now. But even more concerning is that only 10% realize that being strategic about their marketing is the difference that is going to make take their business to the next level. And then they actually do something about that. It's easy to say, oh, I do need to do some marketing to increase my business. But it's another thing to actually do the work involved because it's tough. I'm sure all of you have seen other businesses out there that are your competitors that you believe are not providing as good of services as you are, and yet they're bigger or they're growing faster. Well, why is that? Why is it that when you're providing better services, they're growing faster? Why aren't you bigger than them or growing faster than them? It's because they're doing a better job at marketing. They're getting the word out about their services where you are not. And I'm sure that makes sense to a lot of you. And if you're part of that 10%, if you're committed to creating maximum growth for your business, I would love to get to know you and your business better. If you realize, man, you know what? We should be doing a better job with this stuff, but we just don't have the time or expertise to do it ourselves, then my team would love to have the opportunity to just have a conversation with you and see if there's some way that we might be able to help your business grow. Now, I want to get to some questions, but at the end I'm going to discuss a problematic trend I see, which I call the small business diet. If you want to know more about that and what my team can do to help you avoid it, then stick around to the end. So thank you for your time and attention. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and answer a handful of questions. Then I'm going to let you get back to your day. So let me see here. Let me just grab a quick drink of water here just to make sure I've got my voice. Okay, so we've got a question here. It's, what's the trick to getting ranked in Google? Okay, well, the trick is that there's no real trick. I mean, there's lots and lots of tricks, and they're really not tricks. They're fundamental things that you need to do, so it's not really a short answer. And getting ranked is something that's more and more complicated every day because the search engines are doing a great job of incorporating a lot of factors into determining who should rank well. So things like your reputation, they look at your reviews, right? Because why would they want to return a result in the searches of poorly reviewed businesses when they can return a highly reviewed business, right? So if you're out looking for a restaurant and you're not looking for the worst restaurant, you're looking for the best one, right? So your reviews, your reputation out there is going to make a huge difference. How your website is structured, what kind of content you're producing and publishing, who's linked to your website, who's pointing to your website in the social media pages. Everything has some sort of influence now, so it's not really an easy question. Certainly something we can advise and help with, but there are a lot of different factors here. I'd say really the biggest one when it comes down to it, it's quality content where people want to link to your page and spread the word about it. Once you get to that point and people are actually talking about you, sharing your information, reposting your blog posts, whatever it is, that's when you're going to start seeing a very good ranking. So let's see here. Somebody, looks like Paul, says that he's seen some negative reviews about his business on Yelp that are bogus. What can we do to get those reviews removed? Well, Paul, it is a difficult thing to get bad reviews removed. Typical, what we advise is that you don't focus on getting them removed because you can spend a lot of time, a lot of money trying to get them removed, and it's very rare for those to just completely be removed. And what we do advise is that you do focus on burying them. And what I mean by that is to bury them under layers and layers of positive reviews. Getting them removed can be very difficult. Just by their nature, the sites that are hosting those reviews want to remain objective. So if a business can just call up and say, hey, that negative review, I don't like it, then that kind of removes the objectivity of their site. So by nature, it's going to be hard to do. Even if you tell them, hey, it's bogus, you'd really have to be able to prove that it's bogus, and that's going to be tough. So what we recommend is that you put those reviews and referral systems in place so that you're capturing as many reviews as possible and just burying the bad ones. Look, no matter what you do, every business is going to get bad reviews, right? It doesn't matter how good of a job you do, you're always going to have some customers that you ruffle their feathers. So again, focusing on burying them under good reviews is the best thing. Now, if that review is something that you can show as obviously malicious, like from an ex-employee or something like that, then there have been cases where people have taken documentation to Yelp or Google or whatever it is and have been able to get those reviews taken down, but you have to have a lot of proof. And obviously that's going to be a pretty long, drawn-out process. And, you have to look at it and decide, what's my time worth? Is it better to try and focus on getting that one bad review off of there, that malicious review? Or would it be better to get good reviews? Because, if you're looking at a site and you see, 5 out of 5 stars on everything, and then you have one that's just a terrible review, you might look at that yourself and go, I don't know if I trust that single review when everybody else loves it. You're not going to give as much credence to that bad review. So if you can just get a lot of positive reviews, that's going to make a bigger difference, and it's going to help you get those systems in place. So from now on, you're going to have much better reviews going for your business. Okay, let's see here. Somebody mentioned that they used a company, I won't mention the name here, to buy some leads on a regular basis, but they're not exclusive leads. So what are the alternatives to generating their own leads? Well, the alternatives are numerous. I mean, you can run advertising just like that company's doing, right? I mean, to get those leads, they're publishing ads, they're publishing content on the web to get people that are looking for those services, and then they pick up the phone, they make a call, and now that lead gets sold to you. So you could be doing that same exact type of thing for your own business, right? That would fall into that reach category, where you can be running ads on Facebook, you can run ads on Google and other search engines, you could be doing some direct mail. All of those types of things are things that we help our clients take control of, so that you're not just relying on a third party or other business to generate those leads for you, okay? By making sure that you actually have this R4 marketing framework in place, you're going to have people calling you directly. You don't have to necessarily buy leads. Now, if you're just starting out and you don't have the ability to get this system set up, then yes, maybe buying leads initially might work for you just to get some cash through the door. But once you get this system set up, you're not going to have to be buying leads, because you're going to have enough customers coming to you directly. Okay, looks like I've got a couple more questions, but we are running short on time here, so I apologize. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll make sure that some of these other questions, we're going to try and answer them via email or contact you after the webinar, just to try and answer whatever we can. So don't worry, if your question didn't get answered, we're going to take care of you. I did promise to touch base on what I call the small business diet, so I want to do that before we go. So what is the small business diet? Basically, most small businesses go through a phase of feast or famine when it comes to obtaining new business. When you have no new clients or repeat clients knocking down your door, you have plenty of time to do marketing and advertising for your business. And it's usually at a low or no cost, since you're doing all the work yourself. Then you get busy with some of those new clients and spend all your time and effort servicing them. Suddenly the work is done, the money runs out, and you're back to the bottom trying to get more clients. And this happens over and over again until you either burn out and shut the doors, or find a better system for obtaining the right kind of clients. And the good news is that attending this webinar, you've already shown that you are like this, little guy on the screen here. You want the number of new and repeat customers, and obviously your bottom line, to keep going up, not just go up, down, up, down. So if you implement the ideas we discussed today, then you will help make that correction to your bottom line, and over time you're going to see some amazing results. And it's all about the system. If you follow the system, you will see results, and your income will begin to become more steady and continually increase. Our goal is to help the little guys out there that are trying to get ahead but just don't know how. No matter what business you're in, it all comes down to how well you market. And that's what this webinar is about. Whether you have a marketing plan in place that just needs to be updated, or you are just starting out and need some direction, we're here to help. And I know that this was a lot of information to absorb during this hour. Don't worry. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will send you a replay of this event, so you can rewatch it and take as many notes as you need. Now, I do want to do just a real quick sales blurb about an awesome service we offer. I hope you found the information in this webinar useful, and that you'll go out and implement it, even if it's just a few of the ideas. But if you find that doing all the work of marketing your business online is just too much for you to do, especially in addition to serving clients, managing employees, tracking income and expenses, and everything else you have to do as a business owner, or you just don't have any experience and you want some more help, then contact me and my team today. I apologize, I just need some water real quick. I'm losing my voice at the end here. But more importantly, right now we have a deal going on that's incorporating all the latest high-tech marketing for clients. UtahGateway.com is one of the longest running local business online directories in Utah. While most directory sites depend on consumers looking up information in a Yellow Pages book, and I mean, honestly, who carries around a book with them to look up a business anymore, right? Or there's those other sites that depend on consumers actually looking up a local business directly on their site. You have to go to their site, then you have to look up the local business. I don't know about you, but when I want to look up a business, service, or product, I don't want to go to a separate website just to look up, only information that they provide. So unlike other Utah directory services, Utah Gateway targets consumers online and then sends them directly to the website search results. But what makes Utah Gateway so much better is that it drives consumers from not just major search engines, but other online forums, blogs, social media sites, and more. Basically anywhere on the web that a consumer can search is where Utah Gateway works to get their attention and drive them to the site so that they see your local listing. So let's say that someone has, a need for a plumber. They grab their smartphone and search for plumbers in an area on a major search engine. Maybe a couple of the sites provide do-it-yourself advice or forums. Utah Gateway plans on users checking out different sites and then utilizes the most highly effective marketing strategies to drive that consumer to UtahGateway.com, which immediately displays the local plumber listings for that consumer to call. So how does this benefit you? We can set you up with a free basic listing on UtahGateway.com right now so you can capitalize on this highly targeted consumer traffic. Now, this is an informational webinar, and I don't want to get into a big sales pitch or anything, so that's enough about that. If you want more information, you can click on the Send Me More Info Now link, and we'll send you the information shortly. I want to let you guys get back to your day, and I know you're super busy. If I didn't answer your question, like I said, we'll be in touch with you here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Either myself or somebody from my team will follow up with you directly to make sure we answer your questions. And again, I just want to say thank you for your time and attention. And if this is something that you feel you could use a hand with, I'd love to have the opportunity to just connect and have a no pressure conversation just to see if there's some way that we might be able to help your business. So if that's the case, please do get in touch and we'd love to have a conversation with you. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate your time again for being here. As always, stay positive, stay focused, and stay connected. Take care and we'll talk again soon.